Fox News alert here as we take a look at the markets. And the U.S. stock market continues to hit record high after record high. You're looking at a fresh 300-point gain on the Dow right now, hitting its highs of the session. The S&P 500, which is a snapshot of the broader U.S. stock market, is hitting an all-time high, surpassing the previous record set 2 years ago. So, wow, there continues to be a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of optimism in the U.S. stock market. There's still anticipation the Federal Reserve will cut rates this year.
So there's a lot of good economic news right now, which for Donald Trump means bad news for him. He's already talked about wanting to crash the economy and crash the stock market because he thinks that would be helpful to him. There's other great metrics in addition to just the stock market, with wages up and jobless rates down, unemployment down, GDP growth setting record levels. I'll talk about more of that in just a little bit. But Donald Trump gave this interview with Fox, with Hannity, just giving him the biggest softballs in the world. So Hannity goes to Donald Trump. What is your message right now to the voters in New Hampshire? What do you want to tell them as we head into the primary vote there? Here's what Donald Trump says. Play this clip.
What is your closing message to the people in New Hampshire?
It's very simple. It's make America great again. But I think very important, before we do this, because you were talking about the Supreme Court, they have two votes that are very important coming up. One is, as we discussed, we call it Colorado or whatever, but you know, I really believe they're going to leave the people to vote. Again, you're the leading candidate in both parties. You're leading the Democrats by many, many points. I mean, it's hard to imagine they would do. And most states have already approved it, as you know. Very few states have done that. This is Colorado and a couple of others at this moment. But they have another important, and that's immunity for the president. The president of the United States, and I'm not talking about myself, I'm talking about any president, has to have immunity. Because if you take immunity away from the president, so important, you will have a president that's not going to be able to do anything. Because when he leaves office, the opposing party, president, if it's the opposing party, will indict the president for doing something that should have been good, like Obama.
Okay, so Donald Trump's closing message is that he should have absolute immunity so that he could order SEAL Team 6 to kill his political opponents. Folks, I think I've heard it all. With Donald Trump, though, there's always more depths to the depravity. New depths to depravity are always unlocked. And of course, we've talked about here on the MeidasTouch network how Donald Trump's been posting on his social media that he should receive absolute immunity for things that cross the line, he says. Here, Donald Trump attacks New Hampshire's Governor Chris Sununu and says that independents should not have the right to vote in the primary. So Donald Trump, once again, attacking independent voters. Play this clip.
I think a similar thing's going to happen here. But here, independents and Democrats are allowed to vote. So in order to try and stop Trump, they go out and they sign up, and they can sign up very easily. And Sununu should have stopped it.
All right, what more unhinged and deranged things will Donald Trump say next? Here, Donald Trump talks about how the judges that he appointed, his judges, he says, I don't think my judges are going to rule against me on the disqualification cases, 14th Amendment, Section 3. Here, play this clip.
But what is your reaction? Because you're the person they're trying to kick off the ticket, but they're the ones claiming you're not Democratic. Pretty ironic.
Well, we put on 3 great justices, and you have some other great justices up there, and they're not going to take the vote away from the people. I mean, right now, you saw in the history of the Iowa primary, I mean, the history of it, goes back a long time. I won by the most. Nobody's ever won, as you know, because you covered it very well, but everybody covered it. Even the bad reporters covered it this way. There's nobody even close. I doubled up and more than doubled up the second best, now the second best. It stood for a long time, as you know, that record. But they want to make sure, I'm sure the Supreme Court is going to say, we're not going to take the vote away from the people. Now, Biden is a threat to democracy. He's an absolute threat to democracy. He's very dangerous for a couple of reasons. Number one, he's grossly incompetent, which is the number one reason. But he's also, actually, in his own way, it's not him. It's the people that surround him. You got some very bad people surrounding him at that desk. You have people running the Department of Justice surrounding him. They're young and they're smart and they're communists and they're Marxists and they're fascists. And they're running this country. They're running it right into the ground. But I don't think the Supreme Court would do it because You can't take the vote. You know, I'm leading in every poll. I'm leading Biden, but I'm leading the remaining
the Suffolk
Republicans.
poll,
There's two of them, and they're
the St.
barely hanging
Anselm
on. How
poll.
can you possibly take the vote away?
All right, what else is he going to say? Well, he's obsessed right now with talking about absolute immunity and how he should get immunity when he crosses the line. He's thinking a lot about probably going to jail soon. Here, play this clip.
But you have to leave immunity with the president. If a president is afraid to act because they're worried about being indicted when they leave office, a president of the United States has to have immunity. And the Supreme Court's going to be ruling on that. If they don't have immunity, no president is going to act. You're going to have guys that just sit in office and are afraid to do anything.
Here, Donald Trump complains that gas prices are getting lower, and he talks about they are all conspiring to lower gas prices heading into the election. He's like upset about that because he wants there to be problems, because he thinks that benefits him. He wants to hurt us all because he doesn't give a crap about America. All he cares about is himself. And when others in America are going to wake up to that, hopefully a lot are soon. I'm seeing a lot of DeSantis voters. I'm seeing a lot of Nikki Haley voters, a lot of Chris Christie supporters who are finally getting it, which I think is a good thing. Anyway, here's the clip. Here's the clip of Trump.
All in the wrong places. I had no inflation and I had the greatest economy ever. We had gasoline at $1.87. Now it's $4 or $5. But by the way, they're working together with other countries, sadly, because it's artificial, because they're going to give it up right after the election. You've seen that before. But they're working to get gasoline prices down. It's an artificial reduction. But the gasoline was up to $6, $7, $8 a gallon. And it still is very high. It's much too high. But we had.
And here, Donald Trump's favorite rhetorical MAGA mush of words where he just says Marxist, fascist, communist. Just all of the all of the words. Here, play the clip.
And they're communists and they're Marxists and they're fascists. And they're running this country. They're running it right into the ground.
So Donald Trump's also been walking around with what appear to be like lesions on his hands, or they're red marks. They look like they cut pretty deep, though, whatever it is. So not sure if they're lesions or scars or something, but it's raised a lot of suspicion and concern, I guess. So here's what they're saying on Fox, though. Fox is saying that because Donald Trump signed so many autographs and because he signs, so what you'll hear one of the Fox hosts says, because even women want him to sign their chest. What this Fox host says, it's probably related to that. Play the clip.
He worked for Bill Clinton.
But speculating on someone's health in that way, a former president, fair game?
Politics can be boring, and you have to mix it up, and it's I find it very entertaining. But the real thing, when I look at that, it looked to me like red ink. You know how you get red ink on your hands?
Yeah.
When you are so popular, every room you walk into, everybody wants you to give them a signature. And Joe Biden doesn't have this problem. Other Republican candidates, only Donald Trump. I mean, women want him to sign their chests when he walks into a bar. That's how much they love him. And so I think that's red ink is what I think it is.
I was afraid to raise my hands a moment ago. It's like, the fishing, the tennis.
This is true.
AI might be the most important new computer technology ever. It's storming every industry and literally billions of dollars are being invested. So buckle up. The problem is that AI needs a lot of speed and processing power. So how do you compete without costs spiraling out of control? It's time to upgrade to the next generation of the cloud, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. OCI is a single platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs. OCI has 4 to 8 times the bandwidth of other clouds, offers one consistent price instead of variable regional pricing, and of course, nobody does data better than Oracle. So now you can train your AI models at twice the speed and less than half the cost of other clouds. If you want to do more and spend less like Uber 8x8 and Databricks Mosaic, take a free test drive of OCI at oracle.com/Meidas. That's oracle.com/Meidas. Oracle.com/Meidas. Nikki Haley, meanwhile, speaking at town halls as she prepares for the vote in New Hampshire. And by the way, she's pointing out, I think, just some facts. I mean, she's talking about Donald Trump adding $8 trillion of debt. Just These are just things that are facts about Donald Trump's failures. Play this clip.
The reason he's throwing these temper tantrums is because he knows I do have a chance. The reason he's doing this is because he knows he's not able to defend his record. He's not able to talk about why he wasn't tough enough on China when he should have, and he allowed fentanyl to come through and them steal our intellectual property and build up our military. He's not talking about the fact that he put us $8 trillion in debt over 4 years, and we're digging out of it, unable to figure out how we're going to pay that now. He's not talking about the fact that he didn't stop the fentanyl flow that's affected this state and all over the country when he had the opportunity to do it. He's not talking about why did he go and praise President Xi a dozen times after they gave us COVID. Why would you do that? There are a lot of things he doesn't want to answer. So he can say, I'm not going to win. I don't care about that. What I am going to do is say, we need answers. The American people need answers. And if he's not giving it, that should worry every single one of you.
Now compare all of that. This is President Biden, what he had to say. Play this clip.
Shrank public investment in education, infrastructure and education, have hollowed out communities, closing factories, leaving too many behind. And now, my predecessors like to say, America is a failing nation. In my face, bless me, Father, for his sin. I mean, come on. A failing nation. And by the way, did you hear he wants to see the stock market crash? Because he does not want it now. We're doing well. He acknowledging by that we're doing pretty damn well economically and getting better. He wants to see the stock market crash. You know why? He doesn't want to be the next Herbert Hoover. As I told him, he's already Hoover. He's the only president to be president for 4 years and lose jobs, not gain any jobs. Come on, man. You know, some of the things he said, well, I don't get started. But look, frankly, to put it very politely, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
I so appreciate normalcy. I mean, who can look at those clips that I showed you of Trump at the beginning and go, that's my guy, and then see President Biden just speaking like calmly, normally, talking about us, we, our country, improving our country, and go, oh, that makes me really angry. MeidasTouch.com's got the following story up. Consumer sentiment skyrockets as Americans feel the strong economy. Democrats and Republicans expressing high levels of confidence in the economy heading into 2024. The Consumer Sentiment Index soared 13% in January to 78.8, according to the University of Michigan's survey of consumers, its highest level since July 2021. And the numbers are bolstered by the consumers' belief that the worst of inflation is behind us and confidence that the economy will continue to grow in 2024, with the Fed announcing planned interest rate cuts. Consumer sentiment grew 29% over the last 2 months, the largest 2-month growth since the end of the recession in 1991. Confidence in the economy stretches across all demographics and political party lines, with Democrats and Republicans giving the economy its strongest ratings since the economy reopened post-pandemic. There you have it right there. And this is what Karine Jean-Pierre, White House press secretary, had to say about it as well. Play the clip.
I have a couple of things at the top. So today we got more evidence that President Biden's economic plan is delivering results that more and more Americans are feeling. Consumer sentiments increased 13% this month, rising to its highest level in more than 2 years. In the last 2 months, sentiments has surged by 29%, the biggest 2-month jump in more than 30 years. It's clear Americans are starting to feel President Biden's strong economy. Wages have risen faster than inflation for 10 months in a row. The unemployment rate has remained below 4% for the longest stretch in 50 years. Inflation has fallen by about 2/3. We have more work to do, obviously, but we are on the right path. President Biden's agenda is a sharp contrast with congressional Republicans' plans to cut taxes for the wealthy and big corporations while raising health care and prescription drug costs for hard-working American families. And a few moments ago, I saw some of you have already been reporting this. The president signed the continuing resolution passed by bipartisan majorities in the House and Senate that prevents a needless shutdown, maintains current funding levels, and includes no extreme policies. Instead of wasting more time on partisan appropriation bills that violate the budget agreement 2/3 of them voted for last spring, House Republicans must finally do their jobs and work across the aisle to pass full-year funding bills that deliver for the American people and address urgent domestic and national security priorities by passing the president's supplemental request.
Yep. So 10 days ago, Donald Trump said he wanted the economy to crash and wanted the stock market to crash. Today, the S&P 500 said, as one account said, screw you. Jumped to an all-time high. Folks, I feel this pro-democracy momentum in 2024. And I think when we all root for our country, when we have a leader who roots for America, that's something we should all rally around. Progressives, liberals, independents, real conservatives, mainstream Republicans, people not affiliated with political parties. Let's rally around our country doing well. That's what we do here at the MeidasTouch Network. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 2 million subscribers thanks to your support. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. Hit subscribe.
Hey Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.